Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Weather Center Live. It is Wednesday, 8 p.m., November 8th, 2023. This is going to be our Wednesday segment of Tropics Talk, and we don't have a tremendous amount to discuss tonight, but we have enough to discuss to where we're going to go into quite a bit of detail where we can, and I actually have a little list here in front of me. You guys can't see it, it's off the screen, but we're going to cover a lot of little incidentals tonight because I know the internet is slowly but surely coming ablaze with this potential tropical cyclone that we're looking at in the southern Caribbean. I'm still not sold on it. I'm still personally not sold on it based on what I'm seeing, not only in the upper levels, but just down in the low levels in terms of our wind shear and the dry air that's down there even currently. But, we'll see. We're going to talk all about that tonight. We have a full hour to spend together, guys, so let's do it. Let's say hello to people in the chat first. Zarko, I'm wondering the same thing. I honestly don't know. But I do see TRG Tornado mentioning you might be 30 minutes early or late. But I do see you commenting now, so it's safe to say you made it. 30 minutes early, technically, or right on schedule. Miss Leah the Bombshell, welcome in. Linda, hi there. Kevin, welcome back. Howdy. Hurl, hello there. Good to see you. There you are again, TRG Tornado. Ethan Life, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for sending all those screenshots over to me, Ethan. I'm going to try to pull up a few of them if we run out of stuff to talk about towards the back end of this stream. Janice, welcome in, sweetie. Thanks for coming by. Miss Leah, hello. We're going to give it a little bit more time. We'll give it like 2 to 3 more minutes. Shawnee, good night. Welcome in from Jamaica. We're going to talk about Jamaica big time tonight because it looks like regardless of what takes shape down there in the Caribbean, there's going to be a very, very, very nasty flood threat for everybody down there. Very bad flood threat. And it's a shame that people are tuning out of the weather community because this is one time where I'll admit this is looking like a very serious situation, especially for our folks who just received a whole lot of rainfall during that last event last week and leading into the week prior. So anyways, you can also see, to kind of start off with a little bit of good news, you can see we are starting to get a little bit. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll go to my favorite satellite image. Let's go to the full disk. Here we go. Boom. So you can see we already have quite a bit of moisture working its way towards Texas and the Gulf Coast, thanks to our subtropical jet being alive and well. We also have this massive frontal system that's worked its way off into the central Atlantic, kind of butting up against our Caribbean islands, providing Bermuda with some excellent weather right now. We have a ridge over the eastern parts of the United States helping to fuel our warming trend and that return flow that's happening around the backside of our high pressure spinning out here. So kind of a textbook setup for us to get some rain down there across the south and the southeast. So it's only a matter of time. You can see the frontal system, the next one coming in right there, actually. You can see it plain as day. All that cool air working its way through the central plains, headed into the Mississippi-Ohio Valley. So it's on its way. Within another couple days, we're going to have rain finally down there for especially Texas and Louisiana. So if you're in Texas and Louisiana watching tonight, got good news on the horizon. Let's see, who else we have joining in? Nomad Cat 4, welcome in. Odell's Legacy, welcome back. Zarko, I hope you're right and it doesn't develop and losing lifespan with this season. Don't even sweat it, man. To tell you the truth, I got a lot of flack for my video yesterday, but I'm going to say it. I would say we got to be way more concerned with next year. Next year is definitely looking a lot more fierce than this year. And I watched a few other videos today, and I did a little research on social media, and it turns out I'm not the only one thinking about it. There's a couple of other meteorological sources out there on social media and on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, who are also talking about the same thing, that next year we definitely need to be on guard. We need to start looking at things and how things start to take shape now so we can take the next 6-7 months to preemptively get ready for what could possibly be a far more dangerous season once we uncap the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. If we run out of things to talk about, we can go ahead and look at that as well. I'll show you what I'm looking at and the main reason I'm even talking about it. Because, yesterday I had a lot of folks kind of coming at me saying, you're really getting ahead of yourself talking about next hurricane season. It's not that I'm, running out of things to talk about. It's just the fact that all season long this year, we were constantly going on and on and on and on and on. Like, I'm talking like a broken record. A lot of people were just mentioning, oh my God, the waters in the Caribbean, the waters in the Gulf, super hot, super hot. We've never seen it this hot before. And luckily, we dodged a massive bullet because we had good old El Niño blowing across Central America like this that kept the Caribbean especially quiet. We did have Idalia that worked its way up. That was our one big one. We had Tropical Storm Harold that made landfall in South Texas. Really didn't do a whole lot. There really was no coverage on that. But that's it. When you think about it, I mean, we had Ophelia, but I don't really count Ophelia because that was another one of those one-off systems that was more, I think, subtropical and maybe developed a little bit of tropical thunderstorm activity at the last second. But even that was another storm that just came and went. We didn't really hear much about it. It was a lot of YouTube hype, to tell you the truth. I really didn't see anything on the news or in mass media trending about Ophelia. So we had our one storm, Idalia, and then that was it. Everything else was bam, 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 out to sea. And the main point I wanted to make in my video, which is why I mentioned it yesterday, I wasn't talking, track or anything like that. I wasn't talking how we're going to have major storms and prepare. The big thing that I'm noticing is how we're going to uncap all this area in here. All this area. We're going to uncap it. We're going to make it favorable for all types of storms to form up. And if you take a look at everything that went out this way during this hurricane season, and we do an exact replica and we do the same thing here, see what I mean? You see how many more people are suddenly in harm's way if we do exactly the same thing we saw this hurricane season, but we simply put it in a different source region? That's all I was talking about. That's not hype. That's truly what happens. We go out of El Niño and go to La Niña, and we're going to have different source regions to worry about. And even if you have fish storms and they just want to move north, you put something in the Gulf of Mexico, for example, and you push it north, where's it going? I'm pretty sure you guys don't even need to answer that. It's common sense. But all right, so relief is coming in for the south and the southeast in way of this cold frontal boundary, getting ready to meet up with our warm tropical moisture coming out of the Caribbean, even though I know it doesn't look like much. We have a lot of dry air down there now, but you can see as this high pressure continues to migrate further into the Atlantic, we're going to get that trademark return flow out of the south and southeast from those tropical environments, and they're going to collide. Now, unfortunately, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I shared a picture from one of our Euro precip accumulation charts, and you could literally see over the next 7 to 10 days, we're going to get rain all through here and then all through here, but then Florida's just going to be in this little bubble of no rain. So Florida, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if it's that HARP thing that some people keep talking about, but Gulf Coast, Texas, Louisiana, even into Mississippi, maybe Alabama, we're definitely going to get some good rainfall. We'll talk about that real briefly, kind of shed some good news, and then we'll dig into what's going to happen down there in the Caribbean. But yeah, welcome in, folks. Next year might be like the 98 Atlantic hurricane season. 97 was inactive. 98 saw deadly hurricanes cross. I believe that. Idalia managed to throw us a wink. Yeah, it was kind of like I gotcha, because everyone else was calling it a dead season. We got pretty lucky this year indeed, which is why I stress a lot. Don't want to get knocked out on the last round. We're almost there. Come on. Sounding like we're talking Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas back in the day. But I hear you. Yes, Nomad Cat 4 Hurricane Track. I watched his video earlier today, and it made me feel humbly good that someone who's been doing the weather for much, much longer than I am, or than I have, that was on the same exact page. Just saw his video earlier this afternoon while I was on shift taking a break, and it was pretty cool to be like, oh, wow, I even left a comment on his video like, this is excellent. Exactly the same thing I'm looking at, and that's why I want to just, touch on it a little bit. My video yesterday was more or less just kind of me mentioning to everybody on my channel that I'm not going to just forget about hurricane season. Like, I'm going to keep an eye out on what happens after the very strange 2023 hurricane season we had. But all right, let's see. What do we have on my docket first? So, mess in the Caribbean. We're going to kind of go through this just like I did in my video today, just because I want to highlight from start to finish exactly what it is that we're looking at that has me concerned. So this is the Canadian model, and first and foremost, you track this through time, and look at all the precip accumulation we're expecting for the Gulf Coast, especially Texas, parts of Louisiana. I mean, the Canadian model wants some rain here in Florida, too. So I don't know. We'll see. Bro does not know about the Kodiak weatherman. I don't know who that is at all. Yeah, I think Hurricane Otis woke up the gears of the weather community. Well, yeah, because Hurricane Otis is an exact, epitome of what could possibly happen when we have an environment that's not capped off by an El Nino. And that's scary, because with the ocean heat, like, let's put it this way, guys. Ocean heat content that we've had out there all season long, to the average passerby, no one's going to bat an eye because we're under El Nino. And I remember I was having the conversation earlier today, as a matter of fact, that if you don't really know a whole lot about weather, and not like you guys who are in here talking with me, but let's say, for instance, just the random person who, they wake up in the morning, they want to go out for a drink in the evening, they look at their phone, they look at WeatherBug, and that's it. That's the only semblance of weather that they know. Is it going to rain tonight? Oh, no, we're good. We're getting lit tonight. And that's it. And you hear us on YouTube and other people mentioning, that ocean heat content, very, very above average, record-breaking ocean temperatures and all that. No one cares because nothing's happening. Everyone thinks it's hype. Everyone thinks it's just us kind of, speculating for no absolute reason. You switch the table and you turn everything upside down and you go La Niña as opposed to El Nino. And then all of a sudden you have Cat 5s knocking on the door of the Caribbean islands and the Gulf of Mexico, and that's when everyone's going to lose their crap. And I think I may have made a lot of people mad talking about next year's hurricane season, because we just lost a lot of viewers. Not even joking. We're still losing viewers. Wow. Anyways, so this is what we're looking at. Looking at some good rainfall, hopefully for the Gulf Coast, not only within the next couple of days, but you can see it actually continues on from there. But then also look at our folks down there in Central America. Look at the tremendous accumulation we're looking at over the next couple of days, and then into the next 7 to 10 days for that matter. That's incredible. Like, we're looking at values well into the 14 to 16 inch range down there. And I did some homework on that area as well. And it turns out that even though a lot of people are mentioning that seeing this type of scenario unfold is dangerous and, rough, it is. But this is actually another sign that El Nino is definitely kicking our butts right now. I did a little homework in the background to kind of look at what the climatology, because, most people, when they look up El Nino or anything like that, they talk about United States, and that's it. But El Nino affects the whole planet almost to an extent, especially the Pacific to its entirety, and the Atlantic, as we saw, to its entirety. So I figured, let's take a look at what South America and what Central America deal with in terms of El Nino. And it turns out, if you look at this, this is a textbook El Nino setup right there. Notice how the parts of the countries that are facing the Pacific Ocean, they are dry. They're still way down here chilling in this range of precip accumulation. A lot of those areas are barely going to see 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. But then you turn immediately onto the windward side of those general areas, the ones getting those really strong prevailing easterlies, which I think is going to contribute to whatever spins up down in the southern Caribbean. No one's talking about that. Look at how much inundation. Like, look at the difference here. If I could zoom this in, I wish I could. But for example, El Salvador. Look at how El Salvador is forecast to see maybe 1 inch of rain. But then you immediately cross the border into Nicaragua. No, excuse me, that's Honduras. I'm sorry. If you cross the border into Honduras, we're all the way up into 12 inches of rain. Crazy. Now, see, there it is. Right there. There's El Nino happening big time. We just can't see it because we're counteracting it for some strange reason in the southeast. And I think it has to do with our very hot waters down there still. But I was looking at the climo for down here in Central America, and when you see this kind of an indication on our charts in terms of precip accumulation, very strong prevailing easterlies, strong easterlies, that's a textbook sign of El Nino, and you can't argue with that. You can see it right in through here as well. All these windward side or windward facing locations from Central America all the way up through Mexico. That's how you can delineate between if it's El Nino or La Nina, because they're coming out of their rainy season, and this should hopefully taper off very soon. We'll switch over to the European model as well, and I'll show you what's going on there, because the Euro looks even worse if you go through time. Look at that. Look at that. But once again, you can clearly see that clear delineation, barely anything on the lee of the winds on the west side facing the Pacific, and then look at the very, very marked difference. If you don't believe me, we'll go ahead and do the search. I'll show you exactly what I was reading. Let's see if it'll pop up. Here you go. This was the article I was looking at earlier today doing my homework, and if you zoom in on this, Oh man, it's only going to let me zoom in so much. But if you guys look closely, I don't know if you can see it from that part of where you guys are sitting. Notice how even on this map, look at how the Yucatan all the way down towards Costa Rica and Panama, excessive rainfall. And then they're going to be drying out everywhere else. So it just might not be happening up here or in our little tiny bubble of the neighborhood, but it's happening everywhere else. And we're going to start to see it a little bit more as we go through time as well. I noticed that if you go over here, let's go to the Euro. We'll look at the Euro. We'll go to North America. We'll go to mean sea level pressure. Watch off the west coast. Look at how our systems are really going to start moving into the south. We have one system moving in. It's very weak. We have a frontal boundary right in through here. Come on, ink. We have a frontal boundary right in through there, getting ready to make landfall or move in over Baja California, Arizona. Look at how low to the south these next couple of baroclinic systems are moving. And then look down there in the southeast. We're expecting a huge increase in our rain chances with a high parked off the coastline, helping to fuel that return flow around it. So, you know, we had it shut down for a little bit, but El Niño is definitely coming in. El Niño is definitely getting ready to show itself full force. And, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Just for some strange reason, if you isolate this part of the United States, we haven't really seen it. Everywhere else has pretty much seen it, outside of when we went full zonal flow for a little bit and all of our storms are clipping the U.S.-Canadian border. That was about the only time it really didn't show very much. But, I mean, you look down there in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico, across the West Coast. I mean, it's there. It's definitely there. It's happening. So, but anyways, that's my little tirade on that. It was nice to do a little bit of homework and kind of get an idea of what Centam is dealing with right now. And, you know, to tell you the truth, you definitely gain much respect for simple life when you've gone through one of these major hurricanes. Oh, yeah. Hey, folks here in Kingston, Jamaica. Hope you'll be doing okay next week. Sean, not too worried about you guys right now. We'll definitely go ahead and dig into stuff real quick because I definitely want to talk about you guys down there. Those maps overplay rainfall amounts. Well, yeah, I'm not saying that that's exactly what we're going to get, but if you look at climatology and the records and you compare it to where we're going to see even just an inch versus no rain whatsoever, it's written, it's almost like a textbook. It's almost like a copy and paste version of what we're seeing on our models. But all right, this is where we'll go ahead and start getting into some very interesting stuff now. Because I've noticed a lot of folks are emphasizing how whatever's going to form down there, and yes, we'll go over to the GFS real quick because the GFS is doom and gloom, and I've seen a lot of people talking about it still. I don't know why. I don't know why people are still buying into this so much. But you come over to the GFS, and there you have it. You know, major hurricane blowing up, moving through. For some strange reason, people are still calling that we're going to get a major hurricane in Jamaica. And I'm kind of getting a little tired of it because there's nothing to indicate we're going to see a hurricane, let alone a major hurricane. But then I get in trouble for talking about next hurricane season when that's a really realistic discussion to have, but then no one bats an eye when someone says major hurricane for Jamaica. It's like having a hard time processing this. You guys know that GIF where it's the lady kind of like confused and you see all the mathematical equations flashing around her head? Yeah, I almost friggin' drowned trying to save my dog and Maria ever since the season makes me wow. So are we in Tampa going to see rain? You know, Samuel, Florida is the only location that really does not seem like it wants to get rain. We're definitely going to get rain in the south. We're definitely going to see it in Texas, Louisiana, and a little further to the east, but it looks like a lot of our long-range models still want Florida to be outside of the rain, and I don't understand why. It's weird. Hurricanes traumatize a lot of people. It worried me because of my life, but at the same time, all you can remember is the sound of pieces of stuff hitting your house. Yeah, see? When it actually rains regularly and El Niño is really happening, that's why it appears to show El Niño resuming. Well, yeah, but see, again, we're still just isolating El Niño to the southeast. We can't isolate El Niño to the southeast because El Niño is like literally... You look at a map, and you could look across the northern and western hemisphere, and it's everywhere. It's all across the ocean. The entire Pacific Ocean is in a totally different oscillating pattern, and it's not limited to just the southeast. So, Aston, welcome in. Good night, Alicia. Welcome. GFS stands for getting frustrated superbly. Yeah, at this point. Okay, keep making future videos. We love it. Oh, yeah, of course, Samuel. GFS are telling me that Jamaica is now in Jamaica. Take a look at these zeros you run for category. Yeah, see, and that's what I'm talking about. No, like this is not going to happen. You switch over to the upper level dynamics and we look at the wind shear and look at that. There's no way. There is no way you could convince me that, and as much as I love hurricanes, like, I'm going to put it out there. This is how much I doubt this is going to happen. I'm going to put it out there in open air, and you guys can hate me for this. I love looking at major hurricanes. I love talking about major hurricanes. I love the prospect of chasing down a really bad storm. It's just in me. It's my extreme meteorologist side. And in this case, I don't buy it. I do not see that happening. I still don't even think we're going to get a tropical storm out there because of the dynamics. And, the models are saying something, the dynamics are saying something different, so I don't know. We're still going to wait and see. I kind of discussed that a little bit in my video today. There's definitely different indications. If you look down low versus up aloft, there's two different symbols. At the surface where everyone is kind of fixated on, everyone looks at the Euro down here and they see that low pressure and they're like, oh snap guys, tropical storm, here it is, right there. You go down towards the end of the loop and they see that and they immediately think tropical cyclone, there's Vince, and it's like, well wait guys, you got to go up in the air and take a look at what's happening. You look at this and that does not look tropical at all. This is the 500 millibar vorticity. You go down to the surface, we have a very big low pressure down there, but then you go back up to 500 millibars. That does not look tropical at all. That's not what a tropical system looks like at all. And if you look, we have a trough axis. Whoop, that's the wrong color to be using. If you look, we have a trough axis draped across right in through here. So it almost looks like this could be a jet kind of induced spin or some sort of a combination of something happening in the low levels with those very strong easterly winds and then the opposing flow down here getting something spinning, and then this trough comes up and tries to get it going. So very bizarre. The Canadian model does an even better job of showing that. See, so we get a little bit of vorticity, and at first it looks like it wants to go tropical, but then take a look at this. Look at how that trough kind of just pulls it in. And it becomes nothing more than what would look like just either a very small long wave trough or a very potent short wave trough. So I don't know. It's still a toss-up in my eyes. I'm not fully convinced we're going to get a tropical system down there. I'm not fully convinced we're going to get anything organized down there, but we're definitely going to see a huge rainmaker regardless. And I know that's what a lot of people are going to fall back on, but the forecast isn't a bust because look at all the rain. And it's like, yeah, but you go telling people tropical storm or hurricane and look at the chat, you're going to start freaking people out. They're not prepared for a hurricane or anything like that. 90% of the people out there are saying the season's over. So that's why it's going to take a lot of convincing to tell me whether or not that's going to be even a tropical depression. This is where it gets very interesting, though. A lot of people are sold on this idea that it's going to go this way, up and out, straight up over Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, into the Turks and Caicos, Bahama area. Dynamics could change. Its forecast wind shear could decrease quickly. Yeah, it could decrease quickly, but now that, if you forgive me for a second, that's a little hype right there. That's definitely a little on the side of we would need Mother Nature to do this for a major hurricane to suddenly blow up like that. People will always use the classic phrase, is it possible? Yes, but in this case, we're talking like a possibility this big, that big. You guys can barely even see me. That's how big of a possibility we have right now. But anyways, this is where it gets very interesting. Check this out. I saw this earlier after it finally populated in. Look here on the European ensemble control member. Check this out. So everyone is convinced it's going to take a turn towards Jamaica, head up through Cuba, the Turks and Caicos, but then watch the control member of the Euro. So there it goes. Very weak. Very weak. Watch this. It's off the coast of Belize. Very strange. That came out of nowhere. And I'm noticing the trend in the Euro ensembles as well, which is weird. We form it up in the south, and the Euro control member, for those of you who are not familiar, the control member is essentially, you take all 51 members, each individual member of the European model, and the control is all of them put together, no bias, no manipulation. It's just everything put together into a nice bundle, and it shows you what the most likely outcome based on everything put together. This is like the conclusion. And look at the difference here. Well, a lot of our models are thinking it's going to shoot this way, but the Eurocontrol thinks that it's going to go this way. And that's the reason I'm concerned, because not so much for us up here. I'm not worried about Florida or anybody like that. It's just we don't need any more rain down there. It's already such a miserable situation, and it's very baffling to see the changes that the Euro is suddenly spawning in. And I know the Euro is not perfect. We've proven that on our channel here, different times. But let's do a compare and contrast, for example. You look at the 0Z ensembles from earlier to this morning. It's 0Z. You track it through time, and there you have it. Look at the general consensus. About 60-70% of the ensembles track it over Jamaica, move it through Haiti, Cuba, so-and-so, with maybe one or two solutions moving it towards the Yucatan, one random major hurricane solution right there going down to Cat 4 status, hitting Cuba, going through the Keys, kind of like what 97L was supposed to do. Then you look at 12Z, and look at what 12Z does. Look at the difference. What the heck is happening down there? Because look at how now we have 60% going this way and almost 40% going this way. And again, I'm not concerned for Florida. I'm not concerned for Florida. I'm even using all this hand waving and exaggeration because I'm not talking about like a major storm hitting Florida. Do I want a storm to come towards Florida? Yeah, because it's going to be weak and it's just going to give us some rain. That's it. That's the only reason I want it to come towards us. But it's very strange how the European model is suddenly thinking we have this 40-60 split like this. And you go to the upper levels and it almost makes sense. Let's see, do I have it open anywhere? I thought I did. 500 millibars. There you go. All right, let's close this one. Actually, I'll just reopen everything because this is a smaller window. Euro, and actually, no, we'll do Euro. That's fine. Caribbean. Where is my 500 millibar anomaly? There you go. And you go way to the back end, and there you go. So, I mean, technically, you'd want to see it lift like this if it doesn't end up being tropical. If it doesn't end up being tropical, it'll shoot up like this. So that's kind of the determination right there. If it's not a tropical system, it's going to go up like that, period. Because look at the upper air pattern, segmenting it. You have all this lowering height right here in the upper levels. This is not a surface system. When we have tropical systems, they start at the surface. Carmen. By the way, Carmen, welcome in. Good to see you. I do not have my water bottle with me tonight. I do apologize that I left it out there. I had actual pre-workout remnants in it, so I haven't really been sipping on it too much. I've been using, just regular cups. But if it's not a tropical system, it's going to get pulled up like this, because look at where our trough is. You have a ridge here and a ridge there, and then look at the trough coming down right there with those large blue shades indicating overall lowering heights. So, there's a lot of things up in the air right now, and it's cool that we're at least taking the time to analyze it before jumping to conclusions, because this is very interesting. Very interesting. If it ends up being a surface low stacking up like a full-fledged tropical system, it's probably going to go somewhere else. And dare I say it, we're going to go to the GFS and look at it real quick, just because we can go out a little bit farther with the GFS than we can on the European model. Where the heck? Oh, it's still loading. That's why. So see, there you have it. And you look, and we have a huge extension of troughing coming down through here that opens up the pathway for it to form up. But if you notice how those heights rapidly expand, and actually the GFS even wants another little cyclone to form in the Gulf of Mexico. And see, that's the reason why... Confused presentation by these mountains are you so detailed. I no longer buy anything the GFS is selling. GFS is always aggressive and hyping up systems. Shawnee, yeah, I agree. Because now, if we want to use the GFS and we want to buy fully into what the GFS is saying, then everyone should change their forecasts right now and start suggesting that we're also going to see a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico. You see where I'm going with this? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. We have this hurricane, and then we have another tropical system forming in the Gulf of Mexico. There's no way. not a single diddly doodah out there that would suggest that. It just doesn't make any sense. You come over here and immediately switch over to our wind shear and boom, look at that. Punched right upside the head. There's absolutely no way. I still don't understand how this is even going to get going. You get a very small window of opportunity for something to try to develop with some weak wind shear down there. It gets going, and then look at how all of our wind shear just goes crazy down there. Some of it is outflow from this hurricane, but, at the same time, it doesn't make any sense. And then it continues to move through all that wind shear, maintaining Category 2 strength, Bring on a hurricane. It's going to suck for the north or south of Florida since Tampa is blessed by the tribe, but bring us rain. Yeah, see, I digress. Pete, welcome in, sir. Good to see you joining the chat. Very nice to see you. Good evening. Robert or Randall, take a look. Jamaica is now in for a major hurricane landfall. For real, this year was okay. Yeah, because the Caribbean was untapped. That's why I'm already starting to look at what next year could bring us, because next year is going to have the Caribbean uncapped. And, call me sadistic, but at this point, I really wish that we would get, at this point, this is going to sound very weird of me to say, and some people may lose this in translation, but I almost wish the GFS was right. I almost wish the GFS was right. I almost slurred my words. I almost wish the GFS was right, because then we can get a really strong system down there to suck up all that ocean heat content, suck up all that leftover hot water, and get rid of it. This way we can hopefully hit the reset button for next hurricane season. And I know that's so far away. I know it's weird, but, if we can get something down there, we can clear it out and kind of reset the pattern a little bit. And that'll at least give us something to work with as we get closer to next year. If we leave all that hot water down there, especially more so the ocean heat content as opposed to the sea surface temps, because sea surface temps are going to drop. They're already starting to drop with the introductions of some cold air down there, the cooler air making its way out of the Gulf of Mexico down into the Caribbean. But the ocean heat content is not going to just disappear. And that's the problem. If we don't have something evacuate that ocean heat content, it's just going to marinate out there. It may fluctuate a little bit, but a lot of our climo models are already indicating that we're going to still be about 2 degrees Charlie hotter than what we are climatologically speaking, the norm, which is dangerous. That's very dangerous, because you take away El Niño. Let's put it this way, guys. You see all this red wind shear? And the reason we're ranting and raving as to why there's not going to be a major hurricane down there, you take away all this and the major hurricane possibility suddenly goes through the roof, and it's almost a definite yes, you're going to see a major hurricane. Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. And then you add intense ocean heat content and sea surface temps that are about, we'll say 1 to 2 degrees. That's all it takes. 1 to 2 degrees hotter than what they normally are. You've got a big problem. At that point, the only prayer we have to answer for is, if we get the strong one to come through, is it going to take away enough hot water to prevent the next one from getting strong enough? So, throw 5 icebergs there. Yeah, but then we're going to have Titan. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to crack a joke about that. But I think I've sent you 25, 30 years of hurricane seasons. Heck yeah, dude. I'm glad. I'm excited to do a little homework for you guys. It is brewing for the big one, I think. Let's prepare for 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Doing preemptive forecasts, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's meteorology in a nutshell. If you're afraid to do things like that and step out of the comfort zone, then what are you even doing in weather? Weather is literally all uncertainty. We have computer models and we have different tools and, gizmos we can look at. But at the end of the day, what really is weather? It's ever evolving. It's ever changing. If you're afraid to forecast what the next 5 minutes are going to look like, let alone what the next 5 years could possibly look like, hypothetically, I'm not going to forecast 5 years into the future, but you know what I mean, then, what's the point of even dabbling in weather? Weather is all uncertainty, and you have to use your best judgment to make a judgment call. That's what it boils down to. That's why I love it so much. It takes so much brain power. There's no black and white. My least favorite positions to work in the Air Force were the ones that required no brain power, where it's just copy and pasting, writing this, writing that, and then sending it off. I love the positions where you need to look and you need to make your own judgment based on your own experience, the way you interpolate the weather, the way you interpolate the atmosphere and the model data, put it together, package it up into a nice little Christmas bundle, and then send it on its way. I love that, and that's kind of what I've been doing with, next year in comparison to what this year looks like. Next year, maybe a slower season. We are seeing less low-pressure areas in the last month. Also, majority are staying away from land. Next year, maybe a slower season. I don't know about that. Because we had an El Niño year this year, and it kept everything quiet in the Gulf and the Caribbean, and we still had 21, 22 technical storms. So, I don't know. I would not go as far as to say a slower year. Maybe I'm comfortable with saying, a storm or two less, depending, but I don't know if I would say slower than this year. I predict 34 tropical storms for 2024. Hopefully not that many. Cheers from Belize. The floodings occurred mostly in the south of the Belize. Do you think more rain will occur around the weekend again? So, Melvin, we were just talking about that a little bit ago. Let's go ahead and switch on over real quick to the European model, for example. We'll use that as a tool, and we'll take a look out there. So right now we're skating by pretty good, but it looks like the thunderstorm and the shower activity is going to make a return as a matter of fact, as early as this weekend, to answer your question. Your long range for next hurricane season is well justified. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. Let's see. So and that's the problem. That's one thing that I'm really concerned about for you guys down there in Belize and the rest of Centam for that matter. You look at all that rainfall piling up, and then you switch over to our surface winds. Look at those strong prevailing easterlies just pushing all of that moisture in like this. It's going to be an extended event. It may not be a continuous event. We may have breakage in our storm activity, but it's going to be a continuous and extended event with just the overall environmental steering flow taking whatever tropical moisture it can grab from the MDR, from the Eastern Caribbean, and then just pushing it straight into Central America. So that's not a good sign at all for my folks down there. I'll lose my hair next season. Hopefully not. Wait, you digress. What is your take on the Seminole tribe blessing for Tampa from natural disasters? I don't really have a take on that, personally. I mean, I'm very grounded in my faith, in Christianity, my beliefs in God, to not get too religious with you guys. But, that's why I don't really have a take on that. Some people will believe it, others will not. I'm not going to say anything that could be potentially offensive. But, technically speaking, nothing has really happened directly in Tampa. So, maybe you could argue that as a case as to why, but that's just my opinion. I think it's more so geographically. It's the angle of the way the state of Florida looks, and typically if you have a hurricane coming up from the south, it's either just going to keep going or it's going to try to round out. And most of the time as it rounds out, it's because you have a front here or somewhere in that general area, and it's not going to allow it to go up and towards Tampa. It's very strange. It's, it's just the angle of the peninsula, is in my opinion. And just climatologically speaking, the way, I got to stop using that word. Historically speaking, most storms will either impact here or up there. So, and I think it's just the geographical layout of the way the Florida Peninsula is shaped. I want to see a colder winter in Northwest, so then we have a good snowpack California too, so they don't have threats of fire in the summer. I was actually looking at that earlier, and it does seem like, there's going to be some snowfall coming into California. I even saw higher terrain snowfall for Arizona, which brings back memories. I miss that. I definitely miss that. I am keeping the convo weather-related as much as possible. I don't want to be off topic. Oh, of course. The Most High may have the area kept safe. I'm not the Most High, so I don't know. Yeah, no, that's exactly. Dark Earth, thank you very, very much for the $10 donation. It's a breath of fresh air to see you dropping that in there. And welcome in, too. I don't remember if I said hello to you, but thank you very much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you in here with us, chatting. Where are we at? We're already 40 minutes into the stream. Let me go back to my notes. So we looked at the upper level pattern, intensity. Intensity is going to be the big thing. Helena, I didn't have to look far for flooding right next to us. 8.5 feet water on top of our bridge and still has 4 feet as we speak. Helena, where are you again? Forgive me if I should remember off the top of my head, but there's so many people who come in here and out on a regular basis. Please refresh my memory. I'm assuming Central America. I want to say Belize, but refresh my memory, please. I really hope this hot pocket goes away soon for Florida. It doesn't even feel like the holidays are coming. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree, Doff Boy. Congrats, Naz, on another donation. Oh, well, thank you very much for that. I mean, don't congratulate me. Congratulate the folks who are really willing to put in that kind of a donation. It means a lot that you guys are willing to do that for me. It really does. So, what else did I want to look at? Oh, you know what? I haven't looked at the Canadian ensembles yet. Let's see what the Canadian ensembles are doing. If they're doing more of the GFS stuff or if they're more on the track of the Euro. I believe 2020 was La Niña, if I'm not mistaken. There we go. Okay, Helena, that makes sense. I was going to say, I could have sworn you were down there. Belize is definitely in a threat for more flooding, which is terrible. That's my number one concern, truthfully. I mean, I understand we have a tropical threat down there, but just looking at the statistics and the model data, I'm far more sold on there being a lot more catastrophic flooding out there than a hurricane. That's just me. Let's see what the Canadian ensembles are thinking. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, kind of doing... There's a couple of them that try to break away. Yeah, there's a couple of them that try to move off towards the Gulf of Mexico. But yeah, then the general thinking is moving up towards Jamaica and maybe the Cayman Islands. So we'll see. But yeah, so anyways, putting lights on house next week in this heat. Oh God, that's going to be horrible. That's not going to be fun. I'm over here planning a beach trip for this weekend, which, by the way, actually, now that I remember, I didn't put a note up here, but I want to let you guys know right now, more than likely, if there's stuff to talk about, we're going to actually bump our Tropics talk up from Friday to tomorrow because I have things going on Friday and then Saturday and then Sunday. And especially since I'm going to be prepping for a car show coming up in the next couple weeks, my weekends are going to be very busy, so... there might be some flip-flopping and mishmashing some content out there, but I'm going to try to keep, as consistent as possible. But Friday is definitely looking like we're not going to have a Tropics talk. It's more likely going to be tomorrow. If there's something pressing to talk about, we'll see. Or I'll just adjust the time on Friday. We'll see. Is it almost certain next year will be La Niña? Well, let's go ahead and segue right into that. Let's go here. We'll go to analysis tools first. Let me close this. Close this, close this, close this. And let's go to ocean analysis. So, here is our current ocean analysis. This is textbook El Niño. Textbook El Niño. Screams El Niño in your face, for sure. So now let's go over and start looking at some of our climatology models. Let's go to CFS monthly. We'll change the AOR to the, we'll use world. We'll use world so we can get a very clear indication. And then we'll go to SST anomaly, and we'll go through the months. So this is December, still expecting a full-fledged El Niño. Then you go to January, February, March, April, May, June, start of the hurricane season, July, and then August. Never have seen a season like this. Tut and progressive northern jet for the most of the season. Picked up any potential tropical cyclone maturing. Yep, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And that's kind of what's been a saving grace for us for sure. A huge saving grace because we did have a lot of activity out there, but a lot of it was kept away, like you said, because of our very progressive jet, as well as all. We had a lot of Tut lows out there this year too. Now that I think about it, we were just tracking one on another live stream not too long ago. But yeah, I mean, there you go right there. There's our switch. And this is as we're getting into peak hurricane season, which is terrible. This is like the worst timing. The worst timing. I have my band concert tomorrow night. Well, to be determined, Ethan's life. We'll see what happens. I might play around with it and see what I can do. Maybe we'll just bump it up to a little earlier on Friday. We might do it 7 instead of 8 o'clock. So we'll see. To be determined. I'll let you guys know early tomorrow. But I hope you post stuff on Instagram and or YouTube, Ethan, of your concert, please. But yeah, this is what we're looking at as we go into the peak of hurricane season next year. And then this is also what has me very concerned is you come over to, we're already on that model, David. Let's go to the North Atlantic. And then let's go to monthly precip total. So here we are. This is the rounding out the end of winter time. There's January, February, and March, and you can see that we're still kind of in an El Nino setup. We're still looking for higher precip coverage over the southeast, moving over the Caribbean and whatnot. And then as you transition out of that El Nino, look at how our Caribbean immediately starts to light up. Those super long-range climate forecasts are almost a crapshoot. They did really good this year, though. They did really good this year, especially in their precip determination right here, the anomaly charts. They did really good, which is another reason why I'm looking at these as far out as I am, just as like a bit of a first-glance judgment call. Next year, GFS will forecast 78 hurricanes, Cat 5 with tornadoes and some volcanoes on the side. Some volcanoes on the side. Yep. Volcanoes on the side, when they erupt, it'll induce even more rapid intensification because of that extreme hot air coming out of Earth's core. You can't mess with that. That's a Category 10 on its way. But anyways, look at how our Caribbean immediately becomes uncapped, and then you have June, July. Look at that all the way through July. Look at how we're already expecting this thing to open up. Open up like this all the way through. And then it gets even better. You go to August, and we are wide open for business. Base, solo, life, woo. Base is life, period. Those charts changed every month. It said Florida would be wet. Wrong. Florida was dry. Well, you know, I'm not going to split hairs. I went back in time and I looked at a lot of the different on CanSips. And you go back to, we'll go all the way back to January. We'll go to January, and there's April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Actually, you know what? I mean, I don't remember what happens in September, to tell you the truth. September's like a flippin' blur. I don't know why. There's a lot of, I don't remember. But the big takeaway here is look at how our Caribbean was locked down all hurricane season. This January iteration is showing a lot of dry conditions for the South. A little bit of rain during August and September. October may have been a bust. No, wait, what? Didn't we have stuff in October? November was calling for a dry. Let's go to February now. Yeah, look at all that dry. June, July, August, September. October, they were expecting it to be wet. Then November, December, January. Again, key takeaway is look at our source regions. And then as you go further and further into time, we'll go over... Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll go all the way to the end now. We'll go to the first one. November, they're showing all that increased precip down there. And then it dries out, looking a little bit more like El Nino for the southeast. And then even on the CanSips model, look at May, June, July, August. I'm telling you, I don't know. My gut tells me it could possibly be for the 20th anniversary of 2004. I mean, look at how all signs point to very, very active season moving through towards the Gulf and towards Florida, and the Caribbean is going to get messed up, unfortunately. Great stream, but I have to leave early. That's okay. We're almost done. We're only missing about 12 minutes, so we're just getting ready to wrap up. Florida was really humid, and humidity counts as moisture precip, right? Huh? Not necessarily. Hey, Naz, you want to look at all the photos I sent you? I will here in a second, but TRG Tornado, have a good evening. Thank you for joining, and hopefully we'll see you either tomorrow or Friday. Ethan, in the chat, go ahead and start spitting out some of the different seasons that you gave me. Give me one season that was an El Nino for sure, and then give me another season that's not 2022 or 20 that's a La Nina, so we can compare and contrast and see if we can pick up on a trend. If you can do me that favor. The rest of us are going to sit here and metaphorically stare at ourselves or stare at each other. Nazario, can this area in the Caribbean give us rain in Florida? Hopefully. It depends. It depends on if we have another high pressure set up out in the Atlantic and allow some of that to move up into our neck of the woods. Some models call for rain in Florida, other models don't. We're going to have to see very soon. Uh-oh, am I about to lose my camera? I have a battery. Oh, no, no battery. It's plugged in. Whoops, never mind. 2004 to 2006. 2004, that was an El Nino season, wasn't it? At least I thought it was. Weak El Nino season. El Nino hurricane season. (2004) hurricane season tracks. 2006 hurricane season tracks. So here was 2004. We know 2004 was miserable for us here in the state of Florida. Monsoons through monsoon trough position and depth of moisture column battle versus Saharan dust will be key. Also, even last season was a tough battle for development due to the air. That is true. This year, even, we saw a lot of dust hanging out there until like mid-August. And even then, there were still some pretty good plumes. So that's another thing we're going to have to keep tabs on as well. I mean, we can predict and we can look at all those anomaly charts. But yeah, if the seasonal dust is really intense out there, that's also going to smother development, at least in the MDR. If we get enough of it moving through the Caribbean, it'll also close that down for business as well. But that's my biggest concern is we're going to have areas that are now uncapped. So even before the dust can really come on in, we could see, like, for example, this was an example I used earlier. And before we dig into this, let me go ahead and, Ethan, pull up those charts you had mentioned before, 94 and 96 for hurricane season tracks. There we go. 1996 hurricane season tracks. The heck? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, close those out. But anyways, guys, do you remember this? On the first of hurricane season, you guys remember this? Press 1 in the chat if you remember on the very first day of hurricane season this year, we had random tropical storm Arlene pop off the Florida coastline. I'll give it a second. Ethan's Life, we got a 1 p.m. Remember that? Anybody else? This was a really, really quick one-and-done storm. Solange, Shawnee. Oh, there we go. Okay, now, yep. So, look at the satellite image right here. This right here is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful example of how El Nino helped us get lucky this hurricane season. Because this was the 1st of June in the Gulf of Mexico, but notice how you can already see just in the static image, shear, shear, shear. Look at Florida. Look at all the shear. Look at all that shear. Now imagine if we turn that upside down and we go La Niña and we turn off that wind shear, we could have had a major hurricane right off of Florida coast in June. Hello, hurricane season. We have Hurricane Arlene battening down the hatches, moving into Cuba, South Florida, right there. Excellent example. The only reason we got lucky, and you could see it just in the satellite image, is because we had so much wind shear already down there as we were transitioning into an El Nino setup. You can see it right here. Here's the actual storm. Here's the actual storm right there. Actual low pressure. And then there's your textbook sheared system blowing off in this direction. So already, El Nino was a saving grace. I'm not saying this was going to be like a Ian right off our coast blowing up as fast as Ian did after it came off of Cuba, but just for example, you know, I lost my camera. You guys are going to, yep, I did lose my camera. You guys are going to lose the camera here in a second. You're going to see me disappear. I'm still here, but if you think about it for a second, and you kind of have to use your imagination now because you can't actually see me, put that into perspective. We had hot enough water down there to ignite our Gulf of Mexico even at the very beginning of hurricane season, the extreme very beginning of the calendar hurricane season. Now, imagine if we turned El Niño off and we allowed this system to brew up. And just imagine how many more after that we could have had happen. You see where I'm going with this? Like, there's definitely trends that a lot of people ignore right now because, nothing affected them, so why should they pay attention? But this could have been a night and day difference, just this one random silly example at the beginning of this year, because I know a lot of people were laughing at this. You guys should still be able to see my screen minus my silly look on the screen itself. Let me go ahead and just deactivate that. There we go. A lot of people were making fun of this, saying, wow, the hurricane season's broken. Why do we have a storm forming up and moving down to the south like that? Well, that's what very hot water does for you out there. So that's just a very tiny example of how we already got lucky. Because Tropical Storm Arlene, if we didn't have any wind shear down there, thanks to El Niño, this thing would have blown up. Yep. I already turned the camera off, so... But anyways, that's just a small little sliver. Let's see. We got 5 more minutes. Let's go over to the hurricane season charts now. So I'm assuming this was an El Niño year, and then 1996 was a not El Niño year. Yeah, you can kind of tell. Big difference. Look at how we already had storms forming in the Caribbean, quite a few of them. And then you look down here, and we had very little. Yeah, this was definitely an El Niño year. This one came in, died. This one came up, did some kind of weird, funky stuff. I don't even know what the heck's going on there. But notice how overall the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean are quiet. And then you come over here and look at the difference, how we had multiple storms forming right in that same general source area as we're trying to investigate something now. And see how the mid-Atlantic states, they definitely take a bit more of a beating during certain hurricane seasons than others. So... it goes to show, Arlene was just a small taste of how fast we can have storms forming up and how early. And, you couple that with what the CANSIPS is showing, just as a little bit of a mock example, look at how we already have above average precip anomalies in the Caribbean. It's almost as if the models are trying to suggest that we could see, look at that, we could honestly almost have hurricane season start early. Because in reality, this year's hurricane season did get started early. We had Arlene forming, I believe, at the end of May, and then it was classified on the 1st of June, if I'm not mistaken. Pete, thank you. Yeah, I put 2 and 2 together. I put the puzzle pieces together for that one. And it occurred to me, the light bulb went off earlier today. But, yeah, that's kind of all I got, guys. We're not going to go too heavily into next hurricane season. I'm mainly just interrogating what we have going on down there now for the Central America locations that are under the gun for more, I was going to say freezing rain. For more thunderstorm activity and more flooding. And then we'll just have to see what happens down here. Because, I mentioned it in my video earlier today, when we start seeing all that shower and thunderstorm activity start to go back up along the coastline of Central America, down from the Yucatan through to Nicaragua, that's when whatever is going to try to show itself down there is going to be more apparent than ever. So we just got to follow the signs. We just got to follow the signs, and we can't go wrong. We can. We've been wrong before, but you know what I mean. You can follow the breadcrumbs, follow the clues. Blues clues. Just make sure you have your handy dandy notebook ready to go. Alberto, we're going to have to watch for good old Berto next year. Alberto, I used to dance with a gentleman named Alberto way back in the day. Not literally like partner dance, but he was in one of the same dance crews that I was in for a while. Oh, and you know what? We haven't looked at National Hurricane Center. Let's see if National Hurricane Center has bullseyed anything out there yet. That's not the National Hurricane Center I want. That's not even National Hurricane Center. Dang it. All right, then there you have it. And that's how we'll conclude this iteration of Tropics Talk tonight as we round out the hour. Could hurricane season be year-round someday with global warming from all the volcanic activity like 2040 and later? Gary, that is a very sci-fi-esque question, but you know what? I'll entertain it because I like using my imagination and I like speculating like that. Because you know what? you never know. If we continue to see warming trends near the tropics, and especially along the equator where a lot of these systems will form and then try to move poleward, there's no saying that as the water temperatures begin to go up more and more with every year, every decade that passes, maybe not necessarily tropical systems or hurricanes, but we could start seeing very, very more so aggressive low pressures down there, like very, very potent Central American gyres, for example. Very, very strong intertropical convergence zone thunderstorms down there in the MDR, in the Atlantic. So, I mean, that's not outlandish to think about, Gary. That's a good question. Of course, granted, guys, now we're going la-la land like the GFS. We're talking like decades from now. But you never know. Because if it gets hot enough out there, then our seasonal changes and the tilt of the Earth is really not going to make a difference. That's kind of what turns the tropics off, is when you go from season to season, you get different angulation of the sun. So certain areas of the Earth are going to be a little bit more unstable, a little more, hot. And then when you have different oscillating patterns as a result of the seasonal changes, the waters will cool, the waters will change, the currents will change a little bit. You'll have your semi-permanent pressure system start to migrate, and it changes the overall wind flow across the planet. And that's kind of what turns the season off. So you never know. I mean, down the road, if our temperatures get thrown that out of whack to where they're affecting the planet to that level to that scale, I mean, it's scary. I'm pretty sure every climate change and global warming theorist out there will agree with me. No, I get what you mean, Gary. Yeah, outside of the 6-month period, for sure. Really missed a strong upper-level ridge and persist large east-west component. Yeah, that was the big thing. We had so much going on out there, right in this general area of the tropics, that we never really at all saw the trademark high pressure like this that would give us close calls along the east coast or drive storms all the way in like this. We never saw that. This year, I'll use my yellow marker. A lot of the time, the high out there was like this. It was kind of like cramped up in a corner. And then we had high pressure out here a lot of the season, which is what kept things away from the United States, which is why we had storms doing these numbers a lot of the time. Almost looks like I drew a face. There you go. All right. Anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and end the stream. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. If you have any additional questions or want to strike up conversation outside of the live stream, please feel free to leave me a comment down below or comment on my main segment I released earlier today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You'll find it in my videos on my channel, like always. And if you haven't subscribed and you guys tuned in for the chat, or you're still here in the chat, please hit that subscription button. It would mean a lot to me, because as we go over the next several weeks and we finally exit this hurricane season, I would like to start unveiling new content, like Weatherman Reacts, some educational segments, some preparedness segments, even just some off-the-wall, off-the-cuff, ab-lib, interview-style videos where you guys can ask questions and I'll make YouTube shorts on it. So say, for instance, like right there, Gary, if you wanted to ask a question and, wanted a response outside of the live stream, I'd go ahead and make a 60-second YouTube short answering your question and then tag you in the comments or, something along those lines, just something like that. Wait, what about all my Insta pics I spent 20 minutes taking pictures of? Ethan, you wanted us to cover that here? I wanted to look at that on my own and review everything. I thought that was the intent behind sending all those to me. Thank you, Weather. Thank you, Nazario. So good to see you and your weather crew as always. Another great live. You're doing a wonderful job. Carmen, thank you very, very much for that. Always a joy to have you in the chat, and I genuinely appreciate all your kind sentiments. It means a lot. It really does. Weatherman reacts to world's biggest tornado. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, by the way. I thought you had tuned out, but you jumped back in at the last second. But, yeah, things like that. We'll see what I can do. I want to come up with some innovative ways, and it might turn some people off because I know you guys tune in for specifically the weather updates, but, it is YouTube at the end of the day. So, I gotta add some entertainment value, and I want to do things that are going to keep you guys hooked, since we're not going to be able to hype up the hurricane season at least until next year. Oh, no, Ethan, I wanted to use maybe 1 or 2 examples for the stream, but then with as many as you sent me, dude, I want to make sure to review them on my own time, take notes, and then start doing comparisons offline. PM, thank you very much for that. Veterans Day is coming up very soon. If I have any other veterans out there, or even active duty military members who tune in for this video, or any of my video segments for that matter, I do appreciate your service, and it was an absolute pleasure, regardless of whether our paths crossed or not, to have served with you in the United States military. That's something I'm going to carry with me till the day I die. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can turn my camera back on real quick. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let's see. Maybe I can for just a real brief second. Oh, wait. We might have something. Let's see. Let me go ahead and just to show you guys something real quick. Video, activate. There we go. We're back. All right. Before we get out of here, I found something. Where did it go? Here we go. Still doing a whole lot of different renovations in the home office, but I found my Outstanding Achievement Medal from when I was deployed in the Middle East not too long ago. And it's pretty cool. If you guys ever question, for those of you watching out there, let me get this face off of the, I just realized, let me get this face off of the chart. But if you guys ever question whether or not I'm authentic or not, even though I don't have my degree just yet, if you look at the crest on here, that is our official weather symbol for the Air Force. It might be a little hard to see, but it's there. Eagle crest with a whole bunch of different lightning bolts and whatnot. This is my outstanding achievement during my time in Kuwait. I'm not going to say good memories. There were good memories, but there were also bad memories. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying. But I thought this was pretty cool. I discovered it alongside some of the paperwork from my time in. So yeah, anybody out there speculating that I'm just another armchair amateur, I was once called that a while ago. Another armchair amateur, you know, I don't have the paper from a college saying I'm a meteorologist, but I did the thing. I've done it. So, and I mean, I'm not trying to gloat or anything, but, you know, I thought this was pretty neat, and I would share with you guys, especially since Veterans Day is coming up. It's a very sentimental time. I still get emotional thinking about the last time I put my uniform on and took it off. So, but that's a story for another day, guys. No longer, I know. That's my reaction to the GFS. Thank you very much, Aston. I appreciate that. But all right, guys. We will definitely see you again soon, whether it be tomorrow. I'll update you all in the very beginning of tomorrow morning, sometime before I clock into work, and I'll let you know if we're going to do a live stream tomorrow or if we can still rock and roll with Friday. I'll see if I can finagle something. Military, no matter what the position is, I have a family and neighbors in military. Not that big into it, but it's a special time. It is, yeah, it really is. And, you know, it goes without saying, you know, we're in different times, and the military has definitely been washed out quite a bit by all the different politics that, you know, are unfortunately being injected into it. Part of the reason I separated to begin with, because I got tired of what they were doing to a lot of us, to a lot of the troops I supervised. A lot of candid conversations I had during the last couple of months I was in the military. So, Janice, I see you. Render a salute to you, madam. All my fam is Marines. Dad was in war. Grandpa was in 2 wars and was a sergeant in Vietnam. My sister served for, wow. Thank them for their service, very much so. My grandfather was a Marine on my dad's side. My dad's side was an Army veteran, then went Air Force, full 20, retired. And then on my mom's side, he was a Marine, saw combat in Korea, and was actually wounded by a Korean soldier in the midst of combat. So he is much more of a man than I will ever be, and it's a shame that I didn't have the chance to share stories, to swap stories, because he passed back in 2004, July. Which is crazy to think about, and that's another reason, you know, I hate to go on these side tangents, but that's another reason why 2004 will always be burned in my heart and in my overall existence, because before my grandfather died, it was July 2004, when he passed away. And just before that, he told all of us, my family, get ready for hurricane season. It's going to be a bad one. A lot of hurricanes coming this year. He passed away, and then what happened in 2004? It's wild sometimes how God works and how weather works. So it's another reason why 2004 is always going to be right here, always, from Hurricane Charlie all the way through. Maybe you could have a military channel that can help others. Just a thought. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I've been playing around with maybe trying to get a little more involved with YouTube and social media all over again in general. Like with the car show coming up, I've been very, very subtly contemplating doing my car YouTube finally, even if it's just a video a week or every other week. Something, military channel would be great. I've thought about bringing back my dance channel. That's not going to happen. I'm too old. I'm already getting pains in my knees just from squatting and doing other things in the gym. My rotator cuff is on fire from boxing yesterday, so it goes to show. My dad was an Army granddad. On mom's side was in the Air Force for 30 years, and my great-granddad in Korea and Vietnam. Wow. Blessings to them. I'm not sure if they're still with us, but again, thank them for their service. 2004's hurricane season was way overlooked by 2005. Yeah. 2004 was rough. 2005 was very bad. Both of those seasons were just back-to-back rough. When me see things like these, me tell it to the nation, oh yeah. But all right, guys, we're gonna stop ad-libbing now. We're way into casual territory, and I don't want to hold everybody up. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the congrats and the Veterans Day wishes. This goes out to everybody out there far and wide, whether you're watching or not. Upcoming Veterans Day. Thank you all for the service. Thank you for serving alongside me if you did. And thank you for those who have and are going to and who still are, obviously. We'll see you. I saw a question pop up. Early in the morning tomorrow, I'll probably be at the gym between 5 and 6:30, 7 o'clock. So probably see a YouTube community post at around maybe 8 or 9 a.m. maybe. It'll be sometime in the morning before the day gets too far ahead of us. I'll let you guys know early enough it'll definitely be before my full-fledged video releases at 6. So I'm going to try to remember to do it first thing as soon as I get back from the gym, and then we'll go from there, and we'll play around with it. So yeah, guys, we'll see ya. Very good. I'm glad that they're still here. That's awesome. 2005 was awful for the military, having to help the Gulf. Oh, yeah. The weather for Curacao lies faster. So right now, Curacao is doing okay. They're also going to be inundated by very bad rain coming very soon. We'll talk more about that next time we congregate in the Tropics Talk. In today's video segment, my full-fledged segment, if you want to go back on my YouTube channel, look at today's episode. I talked a little bit more about it thoroughly on there as well, lies faster. And that we'll see, Aston. We'll see if they classify something or not. I'm surprised that they haven't yet, if we're really expecting tropical developments, and maybe they're on the fence about it as well. But all right, folks, this time officially, we'll talk to you very soon. If you have a comment or would like to ask a question, drop it in the comment section of this video or my main video for that matter, or reach out to me on my Instagram at wxcenter_Nazario, and we will talk to you very soon. Tomorrow morning, I will update you on whether or not we will be doing a live stream tomorrow or earlier on Friday, 7 p.m. on Friday after I clock out of work. But it's been a joy congregating with everybody and having a wonderful conversation tonight. We still have a lot to talk about and a lot to come as we get towards the very, very end of the calendar hurricane season. We'll see what else Mother Nature has in store for us, guys. But until next time, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time out of your evening to talk with me. We'll see you again soon. This is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.